Welcome to Stop the Ride, a sober curious podcast for anyone whose relationship with drugs or alcohol has ever felt a little bit like a roller coaster. I'm your host, Drew Valentino. Sobriety can mean different things to different people, so each week I sit with a new guest to share their unique sober journey. So whether you're an addict or just somebody that likes to party, you can sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. My name is Drew Valentino. We are currently in Los Angeles, where I am here with very special guest, content creator, Jayson Parker. Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for being on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm excited to share your story. We, well, how did we meet? Did we meet?
We've talked online, but
we've mostly talked online.
Like, you know, we've run into each other at like parties, but apart from that, like, no, this is the first time actually like talking in person.
I was gonna say it's like, but I feel like I know you because it's like one of those things where we followed each other on Insta for a while,
right? Yeah.
So it's like hard to decipher. Like
it's that like parasocial relationship,
right?
Like, where do I know this person from?
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm just gonna start out just to get all the information out there with a few rapid fire questions. First of all, where are you from?
Salt Lake City, Utah, born and raised.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah.
There are so many hot guys that live in Salt Lake City.
Yeah. It's kind of like a hidden gem. Like you wouldn't think.
I haven't been.
Come. Yeah. It's really starting to pop off. It's a cute little community.
I would love to check it out.
Yeah.
And how many years have you been sober? Or how long? I shouldn't say years. How long have you been sober?
Yeah. Okay. Right.
2 days.
4 years. I'm coming up on 5 in September.
Oh, wow. Congrats.
Which is incredible.
That's
me.
a lot.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And what was your drug of choice?
Primarily meth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I really liked MDMA, but I couldn't really use that addictively.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it kind of has like a, diminishing returns.
Totally.
But, like the thing that kind of brought me to my knees was meth.
Yeah, as it does.
Yeah, right.
And did you do like a traditional program like rehab or 12 steps or something else?
Both, yeah. Kind of like a holistic approach, I guess.
Yeah.
I really resisted doing 12-step meetings for a long time. Interestingly, I started going to them like basically 3 months after I started using meth. But like didn't want anything to do with them. And so like I've been through 5 treatment programs.
Oh, wow.
Like
inpatient?
Inpatient and outpatient. And did all sorts of other support groups, therapy and all that kind of stuff. But then ultimately what helped me solidify my recovery was finally like getting serious about 12-step stuff.
Okay. And then, so if we go all the way back to the beginning and really get into it, how old and what would you say were your first or earliest experiences doing drugs or alcohol?
Yeah, great question. So, being from Salt Lake, being from Utah, I actually grew up Mormon in a really interesting household, like not a typical Mormon life. My dad was an atheist. His parents were atheists.
Oh,
so,
that's interesting.
Yeah. And we didn't really start going to church until like later. But still, like I ended up in that community and it was really important to me. And so like one of the tenets of that faith is like you don't drink alcohol, you don't smoke, you don't do drugs. And so I didn't actually, I didn't drink coffee until I was 24.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Right. And it was
I was on heroin.
Right. Like, very late bloomer. And it was a quick fall from grace too, right? Like, so I started drinking coffee in 2014. And then within 2 years, I had like progressed all the way down to like meth, IV meth too.
Yeah. Well, and I think that there's something to be said about like being raised in such a strict environment where so many things are off limits, and then you finally have access to these things, or you give into the temptation, you just go balls to the wall. It's not great.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get into it a lot later, but there was this sort of element of like rebellion. I discovered that like a lot of the things that people told me to stay away from actually weren't that bad. So I was applying that to like basically everything they told me to stay away from.
Can you give me an example or?
Well, I mean, being gay.
Right. Okay.
That's
fair.
That's a very like, I guess, important example. People said that gays were like evil, sinister, pedophiles, all this kind of stuff. And when I actually started hanging around gay people, it's like, these people are lovely.
Yeah.
Like even more lovely than the people that I meet at church.
Right.
And so what else have they told me to stay away from that is actually good?
Right. And so what was the first thing you said What was the first thing you tried?
Alcohol.
Oh, alcohol.
Yeah, I started drinking. Right.
Gotcha. At what age?
24.
24.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Right after coffee. So you started coffee and alcohol.
Yep. And then like a month later,
Wait till you tried Kahlua.
Interestingly, I had a weird relationship with alcohol. I didn't like it.
I didn't either.
Yeah, like I didn't like the sensation of even being buzzed or drunk. And like I was such a lightweight. It was always just like 6 shots of vodka and I'm throwing up in the toilet. And so like I didn't like it, but I still drink it.
Yeah.
Around.
And in fairness, I think that's a very common experience for non-addicts. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think everybody kind of has that experience.
Yeah, there's like the social pressure and maybe not even pressure, but just like the desire to fit in and be part of the group. And I think that's what kind of like kept me drinking. And that theme kind of followed me throughout my whole like career, I guess, of addiction, because like after alcohol, I started smoking weed, which I also hated.
Really? That's funny.
But it felt like a more acceptable drug to do. If I'm going to do drugs at all, it's like weed is a little bit more acceptable. Totally. But I hated, I never had a good experience on weed. But I still like, there was 1 month that I was unemployed and I was like a wake and bake, smoke all throughout the day and right before bed kind of guy for a whole month straight.
Yeah. Yeah. I did that in my like teens and 20s and yeah. But that's the thing is that so many of us, so many people, it's not about really even liking being high. It's just not liking being sober.
Yes.
You know, and that's a shame.
Yes.
So
yeah.
So where did that? Well, first of all, when did you start smoking weed? Was
also
that
24.
Also 24? Wow, that was a big year for you.
A big year.
And then what did that evolve into?
I think after that, it was MDMA. Which I fell in love
Also at
with.
24?
Also at 24.
Wow.
Same age.
Wow.
And like that was a lot of addicts and alcoholics will describe their like first experience with their DOC as like coming home or waking up or like suddenly everything felt all right. And that was my experience with MDMA.
With MDMA.
Yeah.
Wow. That, and also just thinking about how we have these experiences that are tied to our addiction, just the idea that you were exposed to none of it and then all of it the same year. I mean, how could that not have some huge impact?
Yeah.
You know, that's pretty crazy.
I was dating a drug dealer at the time. So it's like I had very
right.
immediate access.
Right. So it's like, oh, try this.
Right.
Try this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And was there anything else that you tried that year?
Yeah. I mean, steroids. That was the first time that I started
really
cycling.
At 24, that's young.
That's the first time I started cycling. And then cocaine, I think also that later in that year. And kind of like kept my drug repertoire at that for a little bit. And then at age 25, 2015, I started like doing cocaine, which I also really liked.
Did you actually like that one?
I did.
Okay.
So I think I found that I love stimulants.
Yeah. Okay.
You know?
That makes sense.
Yeah. And, you know, I was experimenting with a lot. You know, I did hallucinogens. I did opioids, which definitely did not like.
That's what's so interesting. Some people are very one or the other.
Right. Yeah. Some people are both, but like for me, definitely not the kind of like experience that I was looking for.
Right.
Ketamine. And I think that's about it. Yeah.
And to back up for a sec, when did you come out?
24.
20, how did I guess?
It's a big year.
That's another thing that in all these episodes I've been doing, interviewing different people, that's something that I've noticed. This other common theme is a lot of us as gay people, we feel alone, we feel secluded, we feel different. And it's such a shame that it's like we finally come out, we finally find a group of people that accept us, which is and should be a very positive thing.
Yes.
But often drugs are a part of that. And it's such a shame because then it's like that's why there's such a prevalence, I think, of drugs in the gay community, because it's like that becomes linked, where it's like you finally feel like you belong somewhere and try this Coke.
This thing.
You know what I mean? It's really sad.
Yeah. And like interestingly too, like I also acknowledge that like there are people that can do drugs and be fine.
Yeah,
you know,
I agree with that.
In like 12-step communities, we call them normies. But you know, there are people that don't have a problematic relationship with drugs. They can literally, like, I remember visiting my friend here in LA, and like he was gone. He was letting us use his place, And he's just like, help yourself to anything in the drawer. And I open the drawer and it's just like drugs. And it's like, how do you have unused drugs?
Right.
Just like available. Because when I
That's
bought
such a good
drugs,
point. Yeah.
I did it until it was gone.
Definitely.
Right. And I think that like for queer people, especially, we all grow up with a certain measure of shame, a certain measure of like guilt over the things that we've done with our life. We come from like some interesting family backgrounds. We don't, it's the velvet rage type thing, right?
Yeah.
We don't know who we
Amazing
are
book.
and we're still trying to figure out our identity. And drugs just kind of like unlock something. That was certainly my experience. You know, the MDMA thing, the reason why I kind of fell in love with it is because for the first time ever, I felt like I could finally let go of the like black and white dichotomy that I saw the entire world in. And I also finally felt like I wasn't subject to the shame and guilt that I grew up with as like a queer person that was also in a Mormon community.
Yeah.
And like it was this sort of like liberating experience that like became very important to me. And I think that's why I kept doing these things even when the consequences started to be pretty dire.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it felt as though I only had access to that liberation under that influence. And I wonder too if like that's the experience of a lot of people, both addicts and non-addicts alike.
Definitely. Yeah. That's true. And you know what also, now I'm thinking about all this, is that like the shame is that there is high prevalence of drug use and drug substance abuse in the gay community, and people that don't understand what we're talking about see that and think like gays are a bunch of drug addicts.
Right.
Yeah. You know, obviously we're talking about like more like bigoted people, but gays are a bunch of drug addicts. Gays are problematic. But the truth is that we cling to this chemical induced form of acceptance and feeling good because society makes us not feel like we belong when we're younger.
Right.
And it's just like if everybody was just in an ideal world where everybody was more accepting and we didn't have to feel insecure about coming out or being gay, then maybe we wouldn't cling to the drugs. And it's like the people that are calling us like a bunch of drug addicts and losers are the reason that we cling to the drugs in the first place.
Literally that.
Yeah.
And I think a further shame too is that like, you know, I talked about that liberation that people feel under the influence of like drugs and alcohol. The shame is that like, that's actually not required, right? Like I have discovered that I have access to that liberation without those things. And I wish that more people understood that broadly. That like the liberation doesn't actually come from the drugs.
Right.
The drugs help us get there, but it's there available to us at all times.
And then, so then what happened beyond, 25 or into 25 and beyond?
Yeah. I mean, so like a little bit more background, growing up Mormon, I actually served a mission. I went to Indonesia for 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think some of my motivations for doing that was that like I had internalized the message that being gay was not okay. And so I didn't want to be gay. And I kind of hoped that if I did this pretty big sacrifice, that I would then be like fixed or corrected. And I actually lost my virginity on my mission to my companion.
Oh no, that was what you were not supposed to do.
Yeah, right. And when I came home, obviously those feelings towards like other men didn't go away. And so like I tried to be this like super Mormon for 2 years. But at the same time too, I'm also a young adult, 21, 22-year-old adult. And so like, obviously I'm on Grindr, obviously I'm hooking up with people and feeling like so shitty over it.
Yeah.
And I met my first boyfriend when I was in college in Southern Utah, and he was a great person. That relationship taught me that like, there's actually nothing wrong with me, that I can be myself 100%, even like the most embarrassing parts. And people, there are people that will love that about me.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the relationship ended because of course it did, because it was my first relationship. I was also still dealing with, do I want to be Mormon? Do I not want to be Mormon? And that's a lot for my partner to handle. And so we broke up. Huge heartbreak. A lot of shit happened.
Wow.
Huge heartbreak. I really did not handle it well. And so I got immediately into another relationship with kind of like the next guy. There wasn't anything super special about him. But he was just there. And I kind of wanted to like redeem myself a little bit, like prove to the world and to myself that I'm desirable and my ex-boyfriend made a mistake. And that guy was actually really shitty. You know, he was a drug dealer, which I'm not saying that like that's why he was shitty, but he's just very shady, very dishonest, very manipulative, very violent. So it quickly became an abusive relationship that I stayed in for like a lot of different reasons. And I'm still unpacking more and more of like what was going on. I was with him for about 2.5 years. And that in combination with this unhealed grief over my first relationship, the conflict of my sexuality and like religious preferences or religious sensibilities, life just was like really hard. There was this like overhanging burden in the air constantly. And that burden would like frequently become so unbearable that I would do anything for just like a reprieve, not necessarily relief, but just like you said, let go for a second, a second, because I couldn't. And so, you know, that's when the drug abuse really started to like escalate. So this is in 2016.
With the same drugs?
Yeah, with the same drugs. You know, I found that I was like rolling on a Tuesday because my boss was mean to me at work.
Oh my God.
You know, I watched the entire season 5 of Game of Thrones, rolling tits.
Wow.
And so I don't really remember a whole lot of it. And
I would not want to do MDMA by myself. You were by yourself?
By myself frequently.
That sounds like torture.
Again, I just wanted to let go.
Yeah, right.
I just
even if you didn't like it, that's the thing is that if you're an addict, you're just going to do it because you have it.
Because it's there, and like, and I feel physically incapable of like relieving this burden on myself. And everything's getting worse and worse. This relationship is getting more and more violent. Cops are getting called, getting dragged into court because of like domestic violence charges. My friends can't really handle all of that, so they start like piecing out. This guy is becoming increasingly more controlling to the point where he's like controlling my drug consumption because he was the supplier basically. And I remember we were at a rave in March of 2016 and he only gave me half a pressed pill. It's not enough.
When you wanted more, like you wanted more and he told you no?
Right. Like he gave me the half pressed pill and said like, come back for more. And then he said, I'm being messy and he's not going to give me any more. Probably.
You're like, maybe, but that's not the point.
Right? Probably, yeah. And so it's like, okay, I'm going to show you, fuck you. And so like, I just walked up to completely random strangers and asked if they had more E.
Yeah.
Ended up taking like 6 or 8 more pressed pills, getting high and high and high. And when we went home, my ex went to bed and like, I just like wasn't done. And so like, I got on Grindr. I was just going like profile by profile, asking if people had more ecstasy. And of course, who's awake at 3 a.m., 4 a.m.? The tweakers.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know where this is going.
Right. And so like this one guy was like, well, I don't have any E, but I do have T. And I remember my ex had put this like pretty defined line in the sand of like, if you ever do meth, then we're breaking up.
So you knew that T meant meth.
I did not. Yes. And since he said like, that's going to be the deal breaker, there was, you know, obviously I was high and so my inhibitions were down. But also there was this sort of like math in my head of like, well, I get to get more high. And if he finds out about this, then like maybe I can escape this situation finally. So I went over there and I think I had a very cushioned experience of doing meth. And I'll give you an example. The first time that I actually did like party and play, you know, we're getting high, we're having sex. And there's like a lull. We needed to like catch our breath, drink some water and shit like that. And we're just hanging out on this guy's bed. And it gets quiet. And he's like, do you want to pet some kittens? And like opens his closet and just like starts handing out these little tiny kittens to us.
Actual kittens?
Yeah. And I'm like, this drug is awesome.
But in reality, this man is abusing kittens. Like he has them in a box?
No, they were just they were like young kittens and like his cats had given birth. And so like they were just there, you know, it's their little area to like be secluded.
But just like a tweaker taking care of
abuse
kittens.
because like how much care can you take care of kittens?
That's what I mean.
Right.
Yeah.
Like obviously there's going to be some level of neglect, but you know, at the time, my perception of that is just like, okay, a lot of the drama that people cast on like meth use is sort of overblown, which like that got me in trouble later on, right? But in the first couple of like weeks, we call it the honeymoon phase. Right. It was great experience.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. You're saying that while doing it, it's not like you crashed out and went on this 2-day bender and right. I understand that.
Right.
Yeah.
But and so like obviously it was a dangerous situation because it put my guard down. A lot of the reasons that I didn't do meth up until that point is because everyone had talked about it as though like if you do it once, you're gonna like, you know, shred your skin up and be homeless and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, well, obviously that's not true because I'm using with you know, doctors and lawyers and you know,
right.
So you know, I kept doing it. And
but once you started, how often were you doing it?
Just on the weekends.
Okay.
And maybe every other weekend. And
I've heard that story before.
Right.
So it's possible. It's possible for some time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that it was going to end my relationship. It did not. In fact, he started doing meth with me. Uh-oh. So that just like was a force multiplier for like the craziness. And shit just started to get really ugly after that. I lost my job. I was working at a really like big investment firm, making a lot of money, and it afforded me, you know, an apartment, a brand new apartment, not even apartment, townhome, downtown Salt Lake.
Wow.
You know, brand new, 2-car garage, all that kind of stuff. So lost the place, lost the job, still can't get away from this dude. Friends are starting to peace out because the meth chaos starts to become too much. I start like disappearing for a long period of time. I start making plans and then just not showing up completely and making ridiculous excuses. Really just like doing a lot of harm to myself and to the people that I cared about. But you know, like I said in the beginning, these drugs did something really important to me, and I wasn't ready to let go of that. So I refused to see that like the drugs were the problem, and instead just saw it as a like consequence of like my fucking ex-boyfriend and the bitch that I worked for at work and my terrible friends who aren't actually there for me. So I started to isolate myself through a lot of my actions, and this was all in 2016.
Really,
like, over the space of a summer. Like,
wait, so this was 25, 26?
This is 26.
26.
It's 26. Gotcha. Yeah,
and also along the lines of what you're saying, meth totally makes people paranoid and think everybody's against them.
Yes.
So like it definitely triggers something chemically that makes you think that your friends and your loved ones are not out for your best interest, but the opposite.
The paranoid delusions of persecution.
Yes, totally.
Right.
Yeah.
And combine that with like
sleep deprivation,
which makes it worse, right? And that's when you start to go into psychosis, and that's when you start doing really crazy shit. And I guess to continue the story, so over the space of a summer, my entire life burned to the ground. I did my first like treatment program later that year. So started meth in March, in treatment in September.
And what made you decide
to go into treatment?
Yeah.
To try and save my job.
So let's back up. So your job was on the line. Did they know about drugs, or your just behavior was crazy, or what?
Both. Yeah, both.
So your behavior was crazy, and you admitted to them it was because of drugs, or they suspected, or
no? The ex emailed pictures and videos of me doing drugs to my boss.
Oh my God.
She was really cool about it though.
Okay, well that's good.
Yeah, she was like, listen, I was 24 once. We've all done crazy stuff.
Meth?
And she's like, you need to get away from this man because like this is fucking insane.
Wow, so she warned you about your boyfriend, the ex, because of the way he said.
Kind of didn't care about the drugs stuff,
wow.
But she's like, this is really fucked up what he just did. You need to get away from him. But then obviously my performance started to deteriorate too. And
so she completely ignored the fact that you're using drugs and there was no like, you need to go to rehab or you need to stop.
Not at that point.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
It wasn't until I wasn't showing up for work. The way that a lot of like this drug use progresses, right? As I said, I would do it like on a Saturday every weekend or every other weekend. pretty soon I'd start on Friday and then go until like Sunday. But then it was like Friday to Monday, and then Thursday to Monday, and Thursday to Tuesday. And then I'm only coming into the office on Wednesday. And like my perception is that that's happening infrequently, but it was like every single week.
Right.
Yeah. And so, you know, my job started to be on the line, and I was presented with a choice of like, go get help or lose your job. And so it's like, okay, I don't really want to stop using meth, but I do want to keep this job. So I will go into rehab.
Gotcha. So, and at that time, well, you kind of just answered this. You didn't really want to stop. So it was kind of like a Band-Aid. Let me just get everybody off my back.
I'll cool it for now. And then when I come back, I'll be a lot smarter about how I go about doing this.
Did you go through any type of like withdrawals or anything? I don't really remember with getting withdrawals from meth.
It like there are withdrawals, but they're so different than like downers especially.
Right.
It's not really like a physical withdrawal other than you're just tired as hell.
You're tired and you want to do it.
And yes, like there is a psychological withdrawal that becomes like really intense.
Yeah.
And like the suffering is so big that it's like I'm just gonna do it because like I can't handle this anymore.
Yeah. Wow.
So I did have that, but obviously being in rehab was easy because it physically separated me from the drug, and I have no choice. Yeah. Do
you feel like that first time in rehab that you picked anything up, or there's anything, pieces of wisdom that you did appreciate or receive, or not really?
At this point, I had already been in therapy for like a long time, and this particular program was mostly just like group therapy. So a lot of the DBT skills, CBT skills that we were learning, it's like, I've already done this.
Yeah. Okay.
And also at this point, I wasn't convinced that I was an addict. And so it's like, and this is a theme. It's like, this applies to all of you, but not to me.
Right.
Like, I'm not as fucked up as you.
Right. Which is funny because every one of us think that, but somebody's got to be fucked up. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
If it's not us, who is it?
Right.
know?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I was with a lot of alcoholics, and I had like a certain level of derision towards alcoholics because I'd be like, oh, you have a problem with alcohol? That's cute. Right. Which is so unfair. And so unfair,
like for a number,
so many reasons. Right. Yeah. But you know, like there was a guy in my program that was like doing duster so much that like he was ending up in the hospital because he had hypoxia. And so I was like, I'm not doing that. So like, I'm fine.
As if meth is.
Yeah. IV meth too, right? Like I smoked it for 3 weeks, and then it like went straight to like IV. And like for some reason I was able to like somehow separate myself from the other people that were in that program.
Right. And then, so how much longer after getting out did you go back to using?
I made it 100 days.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good for somebody that didn't actually want to stop.
Yeah. And I can't really remember why exactly. It might have been in reaction to like my ex's inability to stop. So it's like, he's going to continue to do meth, so I'm going to separate myself from him by not doing it.
I see.
And when I went back to it, and this is again a theme, I had this idea in my head that like, I'm just going to use tonight, and then I'll be done. Right.
And it never works out that way.
No, I was using for months.
Yeah.
Daily.
Yeah. IV again.
Yeah. Yeah.
From the very first one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, immediately.
Just one IV shot of meth.
Yeah, I'll just right. I'll just inject meth and it'll be fine. I'll be done by tonight.
Right.
Absolutely not.
All these stories that I've been hearing doing this podcast, there's just so many moments that we look back sober that we're just like, I was a fucking idiot.
Just want to shake my past self. Like, oh my God.
So then what happened from there?
Yeah. So then I did actually lose my job. Had to move in with my parents. Still dealing with this ex who was stalking me. He was triangulating my position, like my location, using Grindr and a location spoofer.
Oh.
Yeah, he'd set his location to like 3 different points and see how many miles away I was. And then he had this like mapping tool that would like exactly pinpoint where I was. So he'd show up and make a huge scene. Cops would be called, paramedics, all this kind of stuff. And it was very stressful.
Yeah.
would not leave me alone. I got a restraining order. I got 2 restraining orders. And that, like, I think fueled just this sort of like, again, back to this theme of like, life was fucking hard. There's just this low level humming of like difficulty.
Yeah.
And I just needed some sort of reprieve from it. And 2017, this is when I was 27. I don't actually remember a whole lot of details. Because I was in again, out again, just kind of all over the board. I was unemployed for a year and a couple months. So all of 2017, I was.
When you say in and out, you mean on the drugs and off the drugs?
Right. I would be like, I'm done. I'm going to stop. And then, 60 days later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back to it.
But you were able to stop for 60 days on your own without going to program, rehab, or anything like that?
Diminishing returns, but yeah, like, I mean,
it's still pretty impressive.
It's like 100 days and then 60 days and then 30 days and then 30 days.
Because just the point is that some people cannot do that. Some people absolutely cannot do that.
Yes, right.
Without assistance, help, professional help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the times that I stopped, it was never with the intention of staying stopped. It was just like, get my shit together.
Yeah.
And then I'll go back to it.
Which, by the way, at least in my experience, that back and forth of I'm going to stop. No, I want to keep doing drugs. Did I do too much? Now I feel bad about it. Let me balance out my life. Now my life's in shambles. That is something that I can only describe as an insanity that was its own symptom and consequence, completely separate from the standard consequences you would think of when it comes to being addicted to drugs.
Yes.
It's painful. It's mentally painful to go through that.
I think
torture.
I think that's the side of addiction that non-addicts don't really know
You're
about
right.
or appreciate too much. That actually, in fact, the material consequences of drug abuse are kind of insignificant. People are like, oh, like you're throwing your life away, and I'm like, I don't care. I don't want to be here. I don't want to unalive myself. But I also don't want to be alive.
Right.
And so what do I care that I'm throwing my life away?
Right.
But a lot of the suffering was this sort of like complete inability to like commit to something and follow it through. And it just compounded the shame of like, I'm a piece of shit. I can't even do this. It's a moral failing, right? Like I should be strong enough to stop and stay stopped, but I can't stay stopped. So therefore I'm not strong enough.
Right.
And like that is a reality. Like facing that reality of like our nature sucks because it's like undeniable proof that all the things that I was afraid of growing up are true, that I am fundamentally flawed, that there is something wrong with me that's going to keep me from achieving the things that I actually want in my life, that I'm never going to experience the connection that I seek with people, that there is something about me that like once everyone starts to see that, they're going to run.
So what happened from there?
Yeah. So 2017 goes by. I barely remember it. And a lot of like really tragic things happen. I start to like do things that just feel so wrong and against my values. One example I'll give you. My parents and brothers went away because I was living with them. They went away for a camping trip that I didn't want to go on because I didn't want to be separated from the drugs for that long. So they left me with their elderly dog, who I had grown up with, basically. Her name was Pepper. She's a little black Cairn Terrier, like Toto from The Wizard of Oz.
Aww.
And she was at the end of her life,
arthritic
and in a lot of pain, and they couldn't take her on this trip. So they asked me to watch her and take care of her. When they came back, we would, talk about putting her down. And so this dog needed a lot of care and attention and love. And I was down in the basement getting high, inviting strangers into my parents' house, doing all sorts of crazy shit for all days on end, very neglectful of this dog. One of the times that I came up to check on her, she was just like head in her water bowl. Thankfully, her nose was above the water line, so she didn't drown, but she was just stuck there because she was so arthritic and couldn't get up.
Aww.
And who knows how long she was there.
Yeah.
So like that kind of stuff. And she actually died. She died before my parents got home. I was there for her like last moments, high as balls, so irreverent, so disrespectful of this like dog that I had basically lived with for like 13 years at that point. That's just one small example of like in a whole slew of things that just like it made it so hard to look at myself in the mirror.
Yeah, I understand that. That's very relatable. I mean, not that specific story, but just not being there, not being present for people or pets, and just as much like, you know, for the people that show up for you. And it's hard. Yeah. It's hard to reflect on even when sober later.
Yeah, we went up to Idaho to visit my grandma, also dying, some of her last moments, and didn't see her because I disappeared for 2 days, because of course I did. And 2018 rolls around. I do a couple more treatment programs. Actually got a job, part-time teller at a bank, making like 1/8 of what I had made in my previous job.
Yeah.
Credit cards are getting shut down, missing a lot of payments. Could not stay sober for that job. I was shooting up in the bathroom during training, like just to stay awake. Had to fake a suicide attempt so that I didn't get fired. And that landed me in an inpatient program again.
Nobody has to fake a suicide attempt. So what, can you explain what you mean by that?
I just got high and didn't show up to work. And they were like, what the hell's going on? And
so you blamed it on
I'm
that.
so sorry. I like tried killing myself last night.
Yeah. I mean, that will certainly get you out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, and like the lies just like created even more trouble, because like the employee assistance program called me and asked if I had any support, and I said my mom, and they had me call her and tell her that I had tried to commit suicide. And so like my mom's like, oh my God, I need to save this kid.
Yeah.
And, like ended up in Sacramento.
Okay.
For an inpatient program.
And about what age was this?
This is 28.
Okay.
Summer when I was 28. And this is the first brush of like recovery. Where it's like, now I don't want to go back to meth. I actually love Sacramento.
Wait, why did you, what made you think you didn't want to go back to meth anymore? Like what changed it for you?
Yeah. So like I actually fell in love with Sacramento.
Oh, so that was the reason.
Yeah. Cause like I got out of the inpatient program, transferred to their like PHP, partial hospitalization program, and did their IOP, and was in a sober living and just around a lot more sober people, who were living happy lives, who had things that I wanted for myself. And I think I made the connection that like, oh shit, maybe it's the meth at that point. Like
at some point.
And maybe my problems are because of the drugs.
Right.
And if I can stay away, then I can have all these like things that I want for myself. And so, you know, I actually wanted to like move to Sacramento, starting to form a community around there. But that period of recovery was not coupled with the work. I thought that it was a simple question of stopping abstinence. Just don't have to fix anything else. Just like stay away from the drugs. And that's a recipe for disaster, because the other thing about addiction is that the reason that we have this problematic relationship with drugs and alcohol is not because we like getting high. We do, of course.
That's part of it.
It's part of it. But there's deeper things.
Yeah, there's deeper untouched things. Yeah,
right, that are driving that. Yeah. And so without addressing that, it was just inevitable that I would go back, because life became difficult. That burden came back. I didn't like myself. And it was so petty. I got in trouble with my sober living because I went to Folsom.
Oh.
I wasn't allowed to like overnight anywhere.
Oh, okay.
And I like stayed in San Francisco for a night. And so like
Did you do drugs?
No.
Yeah. So you just broke the rules.
Right. Yeah. They took away some of my privileges, and I was like, I'll show you.
Right.
So I moved back to Utah and back in with my parents, and within like a month I was back on the drugs. And this was when it got really bad. So the end of 2018, I'm still 28. Right back to daily use multiple times a day. Could not get through a couple hours without like re-upping. Life is just completely a mess, completely detached from everything. I hate myself even more. I feel like I'm never going to get away from this. Like at that point, I definitely wanted to stop. Like absolutely. Anytime I said I'm going to stop, I was serious. Like I wasn't like, I'll stop. And then it was like, I'm
you
done.
You really were convinced you wanted to stop, but it's just then you can't just assume that you have the tools to do so.
Yeah.
It's so easy to just think like, okay, I finally want to stop. So that's it.
That's
problem
it.
solved.
Right.
And that's just not how it goes.
That's not how it goes.
Yeah.
And so, those repeated failures, the shame of all of that relapse, it got me to such a dark and terrible place. So my partner says that like all of us have this like dark night. My current partner. Sorry. I'm in a very like healthy and wonderful relationship now. Yeah.
I love that.
But he says that like we all have this sort of like dark night of the soul moment. People call it their rock bottom. Mine was like I was back in my parents' house, living in their basement. I was in my closet for some reason, doing so much meth. There's also this subculture of like gay meth users. There are like these rooms on Zoom where people just like get on camera and like do meth and
really
jack off.
I mean, I am not surprised by that, but
yeah. And I spent a lot of time. So I'm isolating myself. I'm no longer using drugs with anyone, but like not complete isolation because I'm at least like in these like Zoom rooms. And this particular night, I'm in my closet for some goddamn reason. It's not a big closet.
Oh, you mean physically in the closet?
I'm like
I was wondering.
I'm in an actual closet for some goddamn reason.
In an actual closet. Okay.
Laptop's going, webcam, and I'm, in tears, crying as I'm like injecting.
And people are watching you do this?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine how much of that was going on during the pandemic.
Oh, for sure. Oh yeah.
God.
Like thankfully I wasn't doing it during the pandemic, but God, and drugs weren't working anymore.
Yeah.
Like, there was no reprieve. I had this very real understanding that like growing up, I had so many ideas of the kind of person that I wanted to be, of what I wanted to be doing when I grew up, of like what direction I wanted to take my life. And in that moment, I realized all of that is so impossibly out of reach. Like there's nothing that I could do to even try to get close to any of those hopes and dreams. And I had nothing. My parents were also contemplating kicking me out, just like I was about to be homeless, and they'd all given up on me. Not given up on me, but realized that there's nothing they could do. And so the only thing that I had were the drugs. And in that moment, I was high, but like I said, I'm mostly did drugs because it gave me that reprieve, and it wasn't doing that anymore. I was high, but like all of that nasty reality was still there, looking at me in the face, and I was like, "Fuck."
How many years of meth use was this? At that point?
3.
3, yeah. Because it also just want to point out that it's like, because when we first started talking about meth, we said that you were using your every weekend or just on the weekends. And we both kind of laughed and said like, oh yeah, that's possible for some time.
Right.
Everyone that says that story is, and then I was homeless or then I was almost homeless and I lost everybody, like everybody I know. And that's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
Yeah. Because again, like all the other material things in life become inconsequential. That reprieve from hating yourself, from the guilt, shame, all of that is so precious. It's so precious. It's worth more than anything else in the world. And so like when you start to lose all this stuff in the beginning, it doesn't matter because you have this still, and then you don't have that anymore. Yeah. And that wasn't the last time that I used. I didn't get sober the next day. Kept going for another couple of months, and it was very dark, very sad.
But it was the eye opener you need to serve later when you were ready. Yeah.
Kind of the beginning. Of
the beginning, right.
Like something's got to change.
Mm-hmm.
Because in that moment, I also had this like, I have nothing and I will never have anything. But I was like, I don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wanted that to not be the case. I didn't know what was on offer for me to want or to aspire to in life. But I wanted there to be something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was kind of like the seed that eventually grew into like me getting serious about, we talked about the work
Mm-hmm.
that has to come with the abstinence. That's what got me serious about doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
So February of 2019, I'm 29 at this point. That's when I actually like started to get serious, started to go to 12-step groups, got a sponsor, started doing the 12-step program, which interestingly, I did not know that that's what the 12 steps were. Like everyone kept talking about it. It's the program or like, you know, that's the process. And like, I didn't put 2 and 2 together that like you actually do step 1. All the things that you
So you knew it was a recovery thing, getting off of drugs, but you didn't realize
were like principles, attitudes.
Right. Yeah,
like,
I guess that makes sense.
You know, I didn't know that like you actually like sat down with someone and then step by step did like the things that each step encompasses. Right. So started doing that, and quickly life got a lot better. Started to get a lot of the things that I lost back. Started to like not hate myself.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of internal things happened at that moment. Just this recognition of all the ways that I showed up in the world,
mm-hmm.
and how 1, they weren't necessary, and 2, they were to my detriment.
Mm-hmm.
And also 3, that like I didn't have to engage in them.
Mm-hmm.
Started to like experience a lot of like internal changes within me. And then as a consequence, things outside started to change as well.
Mm-hmm.
I did relapse about 8 months later.
Okay.
Over something dumb. I guess I shouldn't say dumb, but like a friend and I were in Vegas, and there were these really cute boys from Denver, and they were all dancing. My friend and them were like dancing, and like my whole life, I've never been able to dance. I got made fun of when I was like really young. Mm-hmm. And so like,
so now it's just in your head either.
Yeah. Like could never dance. And like, it's interesting because like I did so many drugs and drank so much just so I could dance and never could. But for some reason in that moment, I was like, I don't like alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, I'll do 2 shots of vodka to loosen me up, and then I'll dance. And then I won't ever drink again. And of course I drank again.
Right.
But couldn't dance still.
Right. So the alcohol didn't
even work.
Darn it.
You know, and it kind of was like this dam that broke. And it's so funny. Over the course of a couple of months, I like was back to like injecting meth, and like from the 2 shots to like meth, I followed this same like train of thought of like, well, I don't like ketamine. I hate the experience of ketamine. So I'll do like a couple bumps.
Right.
And it'll be fine because I don't like it. And so I won't like pursue it. And like,
that cracks me up.
I know. Down to like, I obviously do like MDMA. So like the logic that I used to start doing that again was that, well, meth has permanently altered my brain chemistry. And so it's not going to be the same as it used to be.
Oh my God.
So I'll be fine to like roll. And
most people would say meth has altered my brain chemistry. Well, no, most people are not doing meth. That's the, but like, what I'm getting at is that like, you'd think the logic would be, let me not fuck up my brain more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like that's what the logic should be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyways, you know, I came back, and during the pandemic, I'll never forget the day that I stopped doing meth, because like in Salt Lake, we had this crazy windstorm, like hurricane force winds, which is not normal for Salt Lake. A lot of these like 200-year-old trees were felled because the winds were so strong. And I remember I was with a guy, and we were both in the middle of a relapse, and we were both like, what are we doing? And when we looked out the window, it was like, you know, the Wizard of Oz, like a cow is like being blown through the window, and we're like, time to stop.
Right.
And so from there, I kind of knew that like this recovery thing is not just going through the motions. It's not a simple question of like, getting to step 12 for in my particular example where I did 12-step recovery, it's not just a question of like finishing the program and then you're done.
Right.
You're
You have to
healed.
put in the work.
You have to put in the continuous work. You have to
Right.
strive to like continue to grow as a person. And so the attitude that I adopted that has worked really well for me is that like there's always something more that I can be doing for my recovery. And I've been living by that for the last like 4 years now. Seeking out opportunities that I can continue to like cultivate this person that I am becoming, free from the drugs and alcohol. And to like great effect. My life is so crazy now. It's so fucking weird. Keep in mind, 10 years ago, I was a Mormon missionary.
Right.
Was never gonna like drink coffee or alcohol or like do drugs. And had such a crazy love-hate relationship with porn.
Oh, okay.
And now that's my job. Like,
Right.
I quit my job as a money laundering investigator to do sex work full time.
Yeah.
And that's fucking wild to me.
Yeah.
You know, if like I brought my missionary self from the past to like this present moment, I'm sure he would just like explode.
Be appalled. Right.
Yeah, absolutely appalled. And you know, the people that I've surrounded myself with are just incredible. My ability to connect with people is just like on such a different level. I could not have even tried to understand it only a couple years ago. A lot of them, you know, I've had a lot of material success, which is nice, but like also not the point necessarily. But we started this conversation talking about that liberation that comes from like using substances. And I said it's a shame that some people are under the impression that that's only accessible under that influence.
Right.
But I have found that liberation without the substances. So I live my life now on a day-to-day basis, so much more free from a lot of that shame, self-hatred, self-loathing, guilt, feelings of incompetence, ineligibility, unworthiness. It like just doesn't even really cross my mind. And habits that felt inescapable, even before I ever did drugs, are just gone now. Here's a really funny and then kind of petty example, right? Like I was that dude on Grindr that like if people didn't respond to me, I'd be like, or not, you know.
that's my least favorite thing.
Oh
like,
God,
right.
and I was that person.
Yeah.
I was that person. Or like, you know, if someone, you don't have to be such a bitch. Like you could just
when they literally said nothing,
right? Like
that's funny.
Yeah, you know, just so self-centered.
You don't have to be such a bitch.
And like they weren't.
That's funny
at all. Yeah, and like if I ever was rejected, so like if they did say like thank you for your interest, but I'm not interested. I was so insecure and be like, well, why? You know?
Right. That's
none of my business.
Can I just tell you that there have been two separate points in my life, one in my 20s, one in my early 30s, where I made a decision that I was going to try. I was going to try to respond to every single person that messaged me, even if I was not interested. And let me tell you, that is why I don't respond to 90% of the messages I get, because during both of those times, no one was happy either way.
Yeah.
People got very upset, no matter how polite I was. People still called me a bitch. And not to mention the fact that how much time it takes to respond to every message just to say you're not interested. So that is my firm stance that one time somebody said to me, like, Grindr is just not real life.
No.
Like, and it's like, I mean, obviously they're real people. You don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
For sure.
But at the same time, I agree with that. It's kind of just fake. It's just fake. You know, it's like, I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly that. You know, hot take on the Stop the Ride podcast. No response is a response.
Right.
And I know that sounds like really like kind of bitchy, but like literally, guys, we all have like such complex, intricate lives that like taking a moment to respond to every single person that hits us up is just like it's not realistic. It's not reasonable. But so like, you know, I was the main character in everyone's story. I centered myself. Like someone's like lack of response had everything to do with me back in the day. Right. And like, now I understand this principle of like, everyone has like their own lives and like, I will hop on Grindr, see that people have messaged me, close the app because I'm busy, and then like forget completely. Right. And like now the like impulse to be that bitch that says like, or not, or whatever, is just not there. It's just not there. You know, when I don't get a response, I take that as a response, and I'm fine with that. When I get rejected, which I do get rejected a lot, it's like, yeah, I don't like everyone.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm not into everyone.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely okay for someone to not be into me. That doesn't take away from like my worth as a person, as a partner, as a hookup. You know, like that's just one small example of the sort of like change that has taken place internally. And God, it is such a more peaceful world to live in. Because instead of seeing everyone out to get me, instead of seeing like everyone's actions as somehow relating to like me, I can just like live and let live, right? Like I can live my life, have other people live theirs, and like not take anything personally. And like it's just, my nervous system is so much more relaxed than it ever was growing up.
Right.
You know?
That's great.
So, and I think that that's probably the thing that I appreciate the most about being in recovery is not necessarily the material things that have taken place. I love those too, for sure. But it's more just like the person that I've become. And in a way, like I'm kind of grateful that I've had this like very harrowing experience of addiction.
Yeah.
Because looking at my family and my peers, I don't know if I would ever have gotten to this point had I not been forced to, kind of figuratively at gunpoint.
Yeah. Right.
That's the sort of like silver lining of addiction. If anyone's listening to this podcast that is like still kind of in it, is that it's actually kind of a wonderful opportunity that not a lot of people get. You know, most people will continue in their misery until they die. Yeah. And the tragedy of that is that like they didn't have to. Right. And I had to confront my misery and do something about it. And that's actually like a huge opportunity that I'm super grateful for. I would never say like, hey guys, go do math so that you can like learn about yourself or whatever. Right. No, but the truth is that the people that have struggled, people that are addicts and even non-addicts that went through a phase or whatever, you put in the work and you come out the other side, and it takes some time, it takes some figuring it out, but you end up on the other side like just having such a good grasp of life, like your mental health, what your focus, what you want to do in your life, what you want your day to day to consist of, who you want in your life. You know, in order to survive what we've been through, we as addicts, like we have had to invest so much time in thinking about our mental health and like what we need as individuals and connection with others. And it's just, it's hard not to come out the other side without being really good at those things. Yes. And it's an incredible gift to have. I'm very grateful for being an addict that figured it out. Yeah. Literally, because like I cannot afford to return back to the old way that I moved around in the world. Right. Like I have to be on top of my game because if I'm not, I'm going to end up back there. Yeah. I experienced that with that relapse in 2019, right? Like I let my guard down. I stopped doing the work. I wasn't paying attention to when those old thoughts started to like creep back into my mind, started to take things personally. You know, I wasn't doing the like daily work. And so like now I literally cannot afford to be upset when someone rejects me on Grindr. Yeah. Right. I can't afford when things don't, to like have things not go my way and be super upset about that. I have to find a way to be okay with this, all this stuff. And that sounds miserable. It sounds like very exhausting to like daily have to be on your guard on a daily basis. And here's the thing. I'm not on my guard on a daily basis. Right. I have bad days. Yeah. But I usually am able to like figure that out and like get back on, you know, on my shit. and it's actually not exhausting. It's actually a really great way to live one's life. You know, and I don't think that this is only available to people that have been through addiction.
Right.
I think that like this is really just like being a successful human being.
Yeah. Without drugs and alcohol as a distraction,
Yes.
or ever being hungover.
Right.
And I say this all the time, and in as many episodes as I could possibly slip this in, is that I wish for more people, more non-addicts, to consider more time sober.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't have to be an ex-heroin or meth addict or some huge addict that needs to make this lifelong commitment like I did,
Right.
that I can't do drugs ever again because I'll die. But like you to reap the benefits that we're describing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody could use more clarity, more connection, more, you know, showing up for yourself, more showing up for your friends and loved ones, you know.
Yeah. And I'll say this too, like it's cool seeing you, Drew, online. And it's cool seeing other people that are a lot more visible about being in recovery, because like when you're in it, like when you're in the throes of addiction, thinking about stopping feels like life is going to be over. All these other things, all these other trappings of your life that you've come to enjoy, feels like those have to go away with the drugs, and life is over. So like on a very sort of like superficial level, I can't go to circuit parties anymore.
Yeah.
I can't go to the bathhouse anymore.
Right.
I can't, you know, like go kiki with my friends.
I do.
That's the and like that's the thing. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying is like life's not over. I go to these spaces too.
Right.
And I actually flourish in them, and I've come to appreciate them on a like completely different level.
I agree with that.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think that's important for people to know. Is that like just because we're sober does not mean that like we can never go to any of these like spaces ever again.
Right. Exactly. We're still gay.
We're still gay.
We're still gay. We still like sex.
and we have
Yeah.
fun, right?
Right.
And we have fun. This is so fucking weird. I don't know if it was like the universe giving me a premonition or something, but I remember I was 12 and staying up super late so that I can watch Queer as Folk.
What a badass.
Right, like covering the TV with a blanket so that like my parents couldn't see that it's like on. And I remember there was an episode where one of the characters starts to get into meth, and like the guy who's introducing it to him says like you're never gonna be able to have sex again, like normal sex again. And that's definitely something that a lot of meth addicts deal with.
Yeah.
But like, I am so happy to report that like I have come to appreciate sex so much more than I ever did when I was fucked up.
Yeah.
And like I derive so much more pleasure and fulfillment from my sexual encounters than I ever did
Totally.
when I was fucked up.
I always felt that way. Even when I was on drugs, always preferred sex sober, but that's not the case for most people because it is very linked.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hard to break that link too. I didn't talk a lot about that, but you know, as gay men, we do mix not just sex and drugs, but also like socializing and drugs and
socializing and sex. It's all very connected.
Right.
Which straight people, I just say that because straight people don't do that.
Yes. Right. Like they don't fuck their friends,
Right,
but we
right.
do.
We do.
Yeah. And so like that connection does require some like particular attention in order to get sober. In my case, it took like not having sex for a long time, not a very long time, like 9 months probably.
Yeah.
But just, you know, some like very thoughtful and mindful attention to that link because it's a story as old as time and it's so universal. But, you know, people get sober, things get better, they start having sex like they used to, and then they relapse. And there's a reason for that.
Linked to the sex, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, there's that is definitely a dimension of recovery from substances that like gay men have to pay particular attention to. But like, I want to share this message that like, I have great sex. Like I love my sex life right now. Like it's, you know, and I did a lot of wild shit when I was using, but I do even more wild shit now. and it's like safe,
right,
you
right,
know,
right.
and it's
you
not,
remember it.
I
And
remember
like
it.
It was an intentional choice that you made.
And it's consensual.
Yeah.
And, you know, there isn't this element of like criminality or breaking the law or all this kind of stuff. And so, you know, life isn't over.
Yeah.
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 And so like I've just, a theme has been that like I just have this, I've achieved this level of like being done that has really made it to where like the drugs just aren't an option anymore. And it's also super cool. I don't know if you experience this, but like stimulants are so powerful that they sort of like print this physical memory on your body that like something that you associated with the drug use, if you like see it or think about it, you get this like physiological response in your body, almost like getting high.
I mean, I could definitely relate. I was more of a downer kind of person.
Right. Yeah. And so I didn't know if that was like a feature
yeah.
of that, but you know, that sensation kind of plagued my life for a long time, for a couple of years, but like now I cannot remember what it feels like to get high.
What a relief that is.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I was at the point you were describing earlier where I decided I really truly didn't want to do heroin anymore, but then didn't realize how difficult that would be. The times that I broke was because I would be in my car, smoking a cigarette, driving somewhere, thinking about what heroin felt like. And just, I went too deep down that rabbit hole. And next thing I knew, I was on my fucking way to Newark in New Jersey. I was on my way to Newark to buy heroin.
Yeah.
And at one point I realized that because it happened and I was really upset with myself for relapsing.
Yeah.
And I thought about how that all happened. And it was like, I was literally good. I was in my car and I just started thinking about what heroin felt like. And then I just literally turned my car around and texted somebody and went and bought it.
Yeah.
And I started to think, next time this happens, that I start thinking about what it feels like. I need to acknowledge that right away and try to think about something else. And I'm surprised by how effective that was, because there were times I'm like, it just felt like a silly thought at the time. But I remember there were moments where I did start to daydream thinking about what heroin felt like, recognized it, try to think about something else. And then I had a much more successful run after I had that realization.
For sure.
Yeah. So to your point, there was a point where I started to really, it's not that I'll ever forget what heroin felt like, but it's so blurry and dulled.
Yeah.
Because I haven't done it in so many years that like, and I'm so relieved about that.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that memory's.
Because it's kind of haunting, right? Like I describe it as a sort of like haunting.
Yeah.
The memory of that sensation kind of haunts you for a little bit. And that is torture in and of itself. And so like, I hope that people hear in this conversation that like it goes away. Like you will be free from that.
Yeah.
And you touched on something really important. As addicts, I think we're really good at deluding ourselves. Like convincing ourselves of something that we know to not be true. You know, whenever I engaged in this kind of like dwelling on the sensation of getting high, it was always with this justification of like, it's okay. Right. Like it's okay for me to like think about this a little bit more.
Right.
I got this or whatever. But there was always the voice in the back of my head that was like, no, you don't. Stop. You need to stop this.
Right.
And so like, you know, a really important element of like getting sober is this ability to be like so super real with yourself and so honest with yourself. We're kind of running out of time, but like, kind of a controversial thing. I still do poppers.
I still do poppers too.
Yeah. And like, I would never say that like, because I do poppers, everyone can do poppers.
Right.
There are people for whom not a good idea. But like when I talk to people about it, like the thing that I say is that like, listen to that voice in the back of your head. When you're trying to say like, oh no, it's okay for me to do poppers. What is that voice saying?
Yeah.
Because more often than not, we know.
Yeah. Yeah.
We know that this is just another like attempt at like getting as close as we can to that old life that we used to live.
Totally.
And we have to listen to that voice.
That's a really good topic. I use poppers, and because of my history with drugs and what I've been through, I feel a lot of guilt around it. Like, and that's something that maybe one day I'll address. Maybe one day I'll stop doing poppers. I just kind of feel like that is in the cards at some point. And in fairness, I don't use poppers super often, but when I do, it does kind of, and then like I'll stop and then, or finish. And then it's like, but then my head hurts and my face is all red. And then because I'm so used to and enjoy being sober so much, I really don't like that feeling. And I feel guilty about it.
For sure.
So that's, that's something that I'm still working on. You know what I mean?
But I think that an important element of like that is that like you're willing to entertain a future where you don't do it. Because often these things are so precious to us that we don't want to give it up.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, like if in contemplating giving up poppers, you're just filled with this like dread, that's something to look at and pay attention to.
Yeah.
Because for me, being in 12-step communities.
Do you still go to meetings?
I do, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And being in 12-step communities, there are a lot of people who are like, that's not being sober. And I get where they're coming from.
That's why I asked, because I know that that's not part of that.
Yeah, I get where they're coming from. And like when it comes to volunteering in those groups, that sometimes becomes like something that disqualifies me. And like I've arrived at this point where it's like, if I care enough about doing like volunteering, then like, absolutely, I'll give them up.
Yeah.
Right. Because, they're not so precious to me that like I need to hold on to them at any cost. Right. And I think that's one like thing to like take into consideration.
Yeah. Yeah. I also feel like there's been times in my life where I've battled with or been on the verge with like sex addiction.
Yeah.
And that has been a very big part of my reality for a number of years, because I am an addict and I like sex. So, the thing with the poppers is that it can add to that, and that scares me. And so that's what kind of, that's what gets at, like, that's what makes me want to regulate more or think like I might need to just get rid of that at some point. You know what I mean? But what I felt though was what I learned about my addiction when it comes to sex is that I will use sex to change the way I feel if I don't like how I feel, whether it's because I'm just tired and didn't get enough sleep, or I'm cranky and in a bad mood, whatever it is, I will get horny because I'm like, just don't like how I feel. And then I'll seek sex. And fortunately, I have felt that has gotten way better after I got sober, because after getting sober, I usually like how I feel. I'm better rested. I'm not cranky. I have a bit more stable, like my emotions are more stable. So even if I have a bad day, it's really not that bad. Like I'm mentally prepared for it. And I find my abusive tendencies, I should say, or addictive tendencies when it comes to sex have gotten way better since I stopped doing drugs. And then whether it's right or wrong, that's part of the reason that has had me be okay with poppers, because in general, I don't go full force in that direction anymore. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. And I've experienced a similar thing. Talking about like, where did addictions start? When I was 12 and like learned how to like masturbate, because like that's what I would do to change how I was feeling about myself. So yeah, similar sort of thing.
Hi everyone, I just want to interject real quick here. I recorded this after the episode and edited in post-production, because in this part of the episode I talk about how even though being sober, I continued to use poppers, and poppers kind of became a little bit of a gray area in my sobriety. And I ultimately knew that I was eventually going to have to give it up, or even just want to give it up. And I did want to report that since recording this episode, that has happened. I recorded the episode originally in August of 2025. And a month later, sometime in December, I just remember feeling particularly gross about my poppers use and decided I wanted to go without poppers, take a little bit of a break till the end of 2025, a good solid 3 months. And then when that time came, sometime in January, I took the smallest hit of poppers. I felt super gross. I had the biggest headache, and I regretted it so badly. I was like, you know what? I just don't need this. And I have not touched them since, and it's currently June. So now that's been another 6 months in addition to those 3, and I couldn't be happier with this decision. But I did want to give that context for this episode because you can hear in this episode me talking about how I want to give up poppers but just haven't yet. Well, that has now happened. So that's it. Carry on. Enjoy. And how would you describe your experience being sober, being a content creator in the porn industry?
I think it set me up for like the small measure of success that I've had.
Yeah.
Because I know for a fact if I were still like out doing all that shit, I could not do this job.
It gives such an advantage.
Yes.
Over any job,
right.
In fairness.
Yeah. I could not do this job, right? I wouldn't show up to shoots. I would, make this, schedule this to like come and speak on your podcast and then just not come.
And then just not even text me.
And then ghost you, right? Like, and avoid you at all costs
right.
if we were ever in the same, right? And like that makes me dependable. And when it comes to like studio shoots, like they really like that I mean what I say. I do what I commit to. I show up on time. I perform the way that they want me to perform. And that's had some like great returns.
Yeah.
And also in this content creation world, relationships are very important, and it's so easy to burn bridges.
It's so easy to burn bridges.
So easy. And like, without those insecurities governing my interactions with people, it's a lot easier for me to cultivate positive relationships with people.
Yeah. I feel like that's a common demise to a lot of creators, is that whether it's a constant forever thing or just a little phase they went through, but they go on benders or get kind of crazy with the partying, and then they burn the bridges, they stop showing up. And even if it's just for a few months, it's like, then people don't want you anymore.
Rebuilding those bridges it's hard.
Impossible.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be. And I've had people not show up to shoots, or have a reputation. And, there's been a number of people that I've filmed with, whether it was for OnlyFans, mostly for OnlyFans, like a lot of OnlyFans creators. And this is not judgment. It's just, I just don't want this for me. Is that like, there's a lot of creators that really do have to have a drink or have a dose just to film, and they're filming every other day. And it's like, so it's just a slippery slope.
Yeah. It's not judgment. It's more of an observation. And also I relate to it.
Yeah, I've been there.
Right.
So
Yeah. Like I get it. I get where it comes from, but also I don't want that for myself anymore. And I'm glad that I don't have to have that for myself anymore. I think another like way that being sober has helped is that like, I don't have great experiences every single time.
Yeah. Right.
Sometimes the shoot is just a shit show.
Yeah, totally.
Sometimes I work with people that are just batshit crazy. And instead of like losing my shit over that, it's just like, yeah, that sucked.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
That sucked. The next one probably won't.
Right.
And doesn't,
yeah. And also I think about the number of times I went to hook up with, not even to hook up, to film with somebody, and I taste alcohol on their breath, and it's like, it's noon, or cocaine, even worse. So, I mean, I've been doing OnlyFans for 5 years, so I've seen some shit,
Yeah,
so,
for sure. Yeah, me too. Oh, for sure. Yeah, and people can rarely detect meth if they've never been around it before, and so
That's
like
so true.
I just have like a nose for it.
Yeah,
and, like we were doing a gangbang once, and it's like going at it. The vibe seemed off, and as all of a sudden I was
the vibe seemed off.
All of a sudden I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's been times where I've been at like sex parties or something and like kissed somebody that I really liked, whatever, but then tasted meth and was like, ooh, yeah.
Sorry, girl. It's not cute.
It's not.
And I know that because I was not cute.
Yeah. Same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing your story. What a great story. And before we wrap up, one final question. What would you say is your absolute, might be hard to pick, what's your favorite thing about being sober?
The person that I become.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
Yeah.
I agree with that. My favorite thing about being sober is the person you become. No, about me. Same answer, but for me.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, also, is there, where could people find you, and do you have anything to plug?
Yeah. Yes, I do. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
So, all my socials are, at Jayson Parker, Jayson with a Y, 801. So, just search, Jayson Parker on all your socials if you want to find me. Also, little plug, I am organizing a gay men's 12-step retreat.
Oh.
That is specifically about sex, intimacy, and relationships in recovery.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's a 3-night retreat. All of the workshops and activities are geared somehow around sex, intimacy, and relationships. This is our first year. It's August 7th through 10th. It's called Pepper Diet Academy. You go to pepperdietacademy.org for more details. So it's in like 2 weeks. And so if you can't make it this year, we're wanting to make it a yearly thing. So look out for next year's retreat.
That's so awesome. So if people are interested in that, where do they go to your website?
You can find info on my profiles, but also pepperdietacademy.org. You'll find more details there.
Gotcha. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, you can find me and all my links at drewvalentino.com, and everything related to this podcast at stoptheridepodcast.com. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.